Today I'd like to talk about astrology because astrology is based on the movement of and the relationships between the planets, the stars, celestial bodies that are all part of nature. And if we are saying that nature is our home and we are equally part of nature, it's worth having a bit of a deeper look at where astrology sits with respect to our quest for authenticity and whether it actually helps or hinders our attempts to find and then to walk upon the path of our heart. Looking at it from a shamanic perspective, if we take ourselves back to those earliest days when people lived in nature and intimately integrated with its cycles and movements, the heavenly bodies, the sun, the moon, and significant stars, they interacted with the people's lives in a predictable way. And particularly the medicine men and medicine women noticed that the movement of those celestial bodies was connected with and related to how the seasons changed, sometimes how plants came to flower, and then when the fruits came, when they could be harvested, how the animals moved, and what happened in the physical world around them. So it was only a short step from noticing the relationship to starting to use some of those things they saw in the sky as an aid to predict how the seasons would move, when crops could be planted, and when was the best time to harvest. Things that were significant and things they could start to measure started to become significant in their lives. And this was the extent of their original astrology. Over time, people began to extend the system which they used as a predictive force, if you like, a practice, and extended it to other aspects of people's lives, including who they were, their personality, and then as a form of divination to predict what would happen in their lives. Indeed, to predict the future. We certainly do feel the effects of the physical presence of the sun and the moon. But to say we are affected by something like Pluto, which is so vastly distant and so small, has no logic, no rationale, and importantly, it has no spiritual basis either. If it's not the actual physical presence and influence of the planets that is having an impact on our lives, what is it? How is the relationship between things in the distant sky able in any way to predict or influence our lives here on Earth? How does it override our free will? And importantly for me, where does it sit within an actual spiritual framework? People who put a lot of weight in astrological predictions often like to see themselves as spiritual and on this esoteric journey. But in the end, it's not actually connected with any spiritual tradition besides itself. Also, astrology can't be seen or called a tool of divination, because when we divine, we open ourselves to everything that is in the moment at all levels and receive guidance about what else is in that moment for us and what that might then lead us towards. But in astrology, not only I can go have my chart done for today, but because every position of the planets and the stars can be computed for the future as well, I can say, give me my chart for a certain date of next year. And the astrologer can then tell me on that day next year what the influences will be. And again, that disregards everything that is going on in my internal world, my immediate external world, and whatever else spirit might bring into that moment. And really importantly, from a shamanic perspective, if we were to go out into the forest and just to sit, perhaps on a vision quest for a number of days and nights, not taking any electronic devices with us, just some water and clothes to stay warm. And I asked you, astrologically, what was going on. The only thing we could really refer to is what the sun's doing, what is the moon doing, and then perhaps the movement of some of the constellations in the sky. We could see it, but unless we had access to our astrological book or our website or our astrology app, we couldn't tell each other anything about what those things meant beyond the symbolic significance they hold in our immediate landscape. And as we've said before, the symbols in our landscape can hold and then give back the power, the wisdom that we have given them. Now, if you choose to give all the planets, and the moon and the sun, and everything else in the astrological system the power to control your life, then it can control your life. But I'm wondering why you would do that, because we have no personal connection with it. And again, where is the information, the influence coming from in the astrological system? It's not at the physical level. Is it coming from spirit? No. It's not even claimed to be coming through any guides. It's coming out of a book and some charts. It is very systematic. But what is it actually doing? Here's what I think it's doing. For people who don't have a clear affiliation with a spiritual path, who feel they want to be part of something deeper but haven't found their path yet, astrology offers a way to be part of something bigger, a community that all believes in something that is not necessarily mainstream, that has this feel of being mysterious and mystical, and purports to bring in information from outside our immediate world. Having readings, going to an astrologer, feeling like we're part of something very mysterious can be fun, it's interesting, it can be fascinating, and again, it can somehow make us feel special sometimes. But is it taking us closer to living an authentic life? Is it deepening our experience in that spiritual realm? I don't believe so. I believe it's actually a distraction. It takes us further away. People who are very bound or tied to astrological prediction can become blinded to actual guidance that comes to us directly from our landscape and from our world, because we start to only receive information through the astrology and we become dependent on it. We can't make our own choices unless it is supported by what our chart says. Now again, if we go back into the forest and we take all that away, how are we going to navigate through life? If we return to our shamanic principles, whatever is there in that landscape, through our connection with nature, which in turn is our connection to spirit, that is what will inform us. I can say there has been extensive research done involving actual astrologers that has proven that there is no basis, certainly scientifically, for astrology being effective in anything it claims to do. But there'll be many, many astrologers and, of course, many, many people who will dispute that and say that they've had personal experiences of it being accurate, consistent, and a reliable form of guidance. People need to follow what they feel is right for them. I'm not arguing with that. For me, if we choose a path that is seeking to deepen our spiritual experience, to take us closer to our own realization, closer to walking that path of our heart authentically, we ask the question, what is going to inform us? What is going to take us closer to that authenticity? What is going to help us? What is going to deepen our experience? And if we place ourselves in the heart of our home, in nature itself, we can return to the original astrology, which was observing the cycles of nature, the turning of the seasons, the phases of the moon, how the sun moves across the sky, when the solstices and the equinoxes fall. All these things do help us navigate through our lives and take us at all times closer to a deeper connection and in turn to a deeper authenticity in this life. I think when we find that depth of connection, we will find that what Western astrology has become won't have much to offer us. But make up your own mind and see what calls you, as always.